So go ahead, if you haven't yet, open up your Microsoft Excel. So you have it open as well. Hide that somewhere. Now, by default, when you open Excel, it opens up to a blank worksheet, and the entire file is called a workbook, because inside a workbook, you can have multiple sheets. If you look at the bottom, there's sheet 1, sheet 2, and sheet 3, and those are default in case you need them. If you don't, you can get rid of them later or add more. But what is Excel? Does anybody use Excel now? And can someone tell me what Excel is used for? Any volunteers?
Can you hear me? If you can hear me, maybe. I believe the Excel spreadsheet can be used for graphing and to make formulas to do, accounting sheets, all those things, financial things for graphing.
Yeah, you can use it for many different things. I mean, one of the most simplest things, I used to teach this a long time ago, when Excel first came out, and we were doing Excel 2000 and 2003. Excel is what they call a spreadsheet. It's like a document that stores different types of data, numbers, text, symbols. So mainly it's like data, and you can use it just to document a log, an inventory of your movies, and pretty much anything that's kind of like information-wise. Then you have Microsoft Word, which is typically for letters, memos, things of that nature. I could share my screen. So someone said they couldn't see my screen. Can you see it now? Okay, great, Cynthia. I'm glad you can see it now. I was just sharing just Excel, but I just switched it to my screen, so maybe that'll help instead of just the window for the application. So once you got Excel open, you notice there's you got your typical menu bar at the very top where you have different options such as home, insert, page layout, formulas, data, review, and then a view. You have the little X's in the far right corner to close either the entire program or the window or the spreadsheet you're working on, the one right below it. And then you have minimize, maximize for both of those as well. You have this Office button. They call it like a ribbon, or I could just call it a button. And that brings up other options such as saving, printing, and everything else that you can't see off the little menu screen. It's kind of a quick way to get stuff. But this is how it comes up on my version of Excel. Now if I go ahead and you notice this section here, this is like a little quick task or quick link bar section here. And right now it just has save. And there's a couple other common buttons here, and you could add more. Just this one has undo and redo, but I can't use them right now because I haven't typed anything or deleted anything of that nature. Right next to that, there's a little down arrow, like a little triangle thing, to customize that little quick access toolbar. I'm going to click that once with the left button, and these are options they give you to add a little quick toolbar. So, new document, new, opening, email it, quick print or print preview, spell check. Those are some that you can add on here. Typically for me, I put this little quick print button right there so I can easily print it to my default printer. And I do that to Word as well. But those are just some options you can do to customize this little toolbar here, quick access toolbar. You don't have to dig through the menus to try to find a certain common tab. Now, in Excel, you have all these options here for fonts, font sizes, colors, various formatting, and that's all on the home page. They put the most common stuff on the home section there. We also have the insert for inserting items, such as tables and clip art, shapes, and things like that. Page layout is how you want to set up your page. Margins, print size, different things of that nature. Formulas helps you create formulas. It has a lot of functions and formulas in here, and you can use all these tools if you're doing any kind of like really complex formulas. Data tab helps you pull data from other sources, like other Excel files or from the web, or you can use it simply to sort your data that's in this spreadsheet. Then we have the review tab for check your spelling, look up do some research, the RS, add comments to the document in certain cells to leave notes for other people, or the why you changed something, or just notes for yourself of, say, in case they don't forget why you changed something or what is this information about. It's also an option to protect your worksheet or workbook or to share it with others. So you can lock things down so people can edit your worksheet if needed. And then view to change the look of your screen if you want to do that. I'm going to go back to the home. So that's your menu bar. That's your standard area for your buttons, for your different tabs. Now, Excel, the spreadsheets are made up of columns and rows. The columns are labeled A, B, C, D. And then when it hits Z, it doubles up to AA, AB, and it keeps going this way until it reaches over 2,000. I think it's 2,048 columns that's allowed in Excel. There might be more in this new version, or the next new version. And then you have all these numbers on the far left side. Those represent your rows. So you notice if I click on a number, it highlights the entire row. If I click on a letter for the column, it highlights that entire column all the way down to the end of the rows. And I think in this version of Excel, it goes to about 65,000 rows that you can do in Excel. So if you go beyond that, you probably want to do like a database, like Microsoft Access, with the next level, or for big companies and stuff like us, for accounting software, we use what we call a SQL server for even larger amounts of data. But you have your rows, your columns, and each little box in here is what they call a cell. And this is where you put information in each of those cells. You have a scroll bar, two of them actually. They help you go up and down, and left and right to navigate your columns and to navigate your rows. On the very bottom right, you have these different options to zoom in, zoom out. We'll go back to the 100% in the middle, or to change page break preview, page layout, or normal, which is the view type I am in currently. On the far left, we have these little buttons here, And those are used if you have multiple sheets. I can hit these and go, but I really don't have a lot of sheets, so it doesn't really do anything right now. If you have, we have some spreadsheets here in the Anchorage office that go way beyond what you can see down here. So you have those little buttons to navigate those. Some put in like the months or the weeks. It could be sheets for a lot of different things. You can have a sheet for every employee, and they have their own little sheets down at the bottom, included in the one workbook, which is the main file, like I said earlier. Any questions on that so far? Okay. You know, one other important thing that I haven't said yet is what they call this formula bar in the name box. And it's this section right here, right above your rows and columns and below your menus, where it says G16 currently. That's called a name box. Kind of tells you where you're at, where your cursor is, you know, where I'm clicked in, so you know what your cell reference is. And the other one here, this big empty area, that is your formula bar. So if you have a formula in a spreadsheet, you'll see the actual calculation up there, and your information, your answer, your formula, the values are down here. But if you click on it, it would show your actual formula in that little section there, which you'll see later on when we do a basic formula. Now, navigation, you can, once you're clicked in somewhere, you can use the mouse to click around. Your mouse is a big plus symbol to help you click around easier. You can also use your up, down, left, right keys on your keyboard to navigate, one direction, up, down, left, and right as well. There's also keyboard shortcuts you can learn later. And when you move your mouse to different spots, the mouse cursor may change from that plus to something else for a different reason. Gives you a different function. So if I move my mouse in between one of these column letters up here, you can see that it's changed to like a bar and two arrows going to different directions. That's telling me that it can do something different here, which if I left click and hold, you can see it popped up a little word here. It says width, and I can drag this to expand the column, and it shows me how wide I'm going. And then when I'm done, I let go, and now my C column is a lot larger. And I could do the same thing to drag it the other way, even so far that you can't see it anymore. But we don't want to hide the letter C right now. You can also, in that same section, it could be any column, double click, and what happens is it'll auto fit. It won't really work right now. What it does is once you have words and text in that column, it'll auto fit to the largest portion of your information. And I'll show you that again later once we have some things typed in here. So that's Excel, the menus, the screen, in some ways how you can navigate. Now, does anybody know how to get help? What the keyboard shortcut is to get help in Microsoft Office? Well, there's a couple ways. The easiest I do is I press the F1 key on my keyboard. That usually brings up the help system for the product I'm on. Right now I'm not in any special area, so it just brings up this Excel help so I can do a search. Yeah, the other way is via the question mark. So question mark in the top corner here, it says Microsoft Office Excel Help, or in parentheses there, F1. Yeah, Katie, if when Office is installed, it can help you search online if you turn that option on. If not, it'll just search your local help system. But I think by default, when I install it, then yeah, it'll be live online, so it'll search more options. It'll find you more things. If when Office is installed and you say don't use that feature, it'll just search your local help system from Office that it loads from the installation. Or you can always Google or Bing to find how to do certain things in the Office programs as well. So that's how you can, how do we print a section with the lines? That's usually in level 2 or level 3, but there's a way if you only wanted to print like this area there, it's called setting a print area. You set that print area in that worksheet, and when you print, you tell it to only use that print area. So it only print a little paragraph or one line or whatever you had set as your print area. So I'm just going to put some data in here. So typically, say I'm creating a list for my employees or whatever it may be, typically in the first row you put column headers, like what is this data going to represent? So I have first, for first name, last name, maybe city that they work in, their title, and so on. So those are my header fields. And once you have those in Excel and you have data filled out underneath it, you can sort by these items up here. But to put in information, basically you click where you want it to go. You click the cell and just start typing on the keyboard. And wherever you type, that'll show up. Now you notice here where I typed all these letters, it kind of goes over to the E column. It allows me to do that because right now there's nothing there. But if I type something in here, it will not cover it up anymore. So to see what rest of the information is under the D10, you can click it and see it up here. If there's no formula, it just shows you the text or numbers. Or I can expand that column, like I showed you a little while ago, to see the rest of that text, that data. And then if I want to try the auto fit, which is double clicking when you get those different mouse pointer, it'll auto shrink it or auto expand it to the size, the largest size of the text. So if you have a big long sentence or someone with a really long name and you do auto fit, it's going to take up that whole big section. So you may not always want to do that double click to auto fit it if you have like a paragraph written out or something like that. So I'm going to drag it back and make it nice. Now remember in the beginning, these buttons up here in this quick toolbar, I can now do undo because I did something in Excel with data, text, deleted. I can keep undoing it until it goes as far as it stores. And I don't remember exactly how many undos it'll record for you. But I can keep doing it until all that text I typed in down there is all gone. So if you make a mistake, you can hit undo as well. So now I have some columns up here with my headers, and I typically put those in bold, which is the B right here. And if I hold my mouse and leave it there, it shows you the keyboard shortcut for bold, which is Control B. If I wanted to do italics, it would be Control I, and U to underline it, it would be Control U. But I just want to do Control B or click the letter B, and it makes those header files, the fields, nice and bold. So here I can put Peter and Amy, and fill those in. Now typically when you're typing information in Excel, if you press enter, the next cell it's going to go to is the one right below it. It's kind of like in a typewriter, an old typewriter, or your keyboard in Word or whatever. You press enter, it goes downward. It does that here in Excel. But if you need to go over, so if I change my last name to Miller and hit Tab, Tab will keep going to the right for you so you can fill them out going this way instead of just up and down. Miller, Tab, Anchorage, Tab, and so on and so on. So enter will take you down the next cell, Tab will take you to the right to the next cell that's available. And of course if you mess up, you can always use your mouse to click, or like I said earlier, your up, down, left, right keys on your keyboard. Now, if I've been working on a spreadsheet and it's been like 15 minutes and I have a bunch of stuff in here, one of the most important things you need to do is to save it at least one time. If your computer crashed, or Word or Excel, because Word does it too, and you never saved this brand new document, it will not have any saved recover data to recover that file for you. But if you save it at least once, I believe the default every 15 minutes is going to auto-save for you. But you have to save it at least at one time. Some people just hit the save button every couple of minutes so they don't lose anything. And, you know, that's up to you. I usually use the keyboard shortcut, Control S, to hit that every once in a while, depending on what I'm working on. But when you save it for the first time, you can hit this little button up here that's on the Quick Launch toolbar, or you can go to the main ribbon button, the Office button, and do Save. Because this is a brand new file, when I hit Save, it's technically going to bring up the Save As dialog box, which prompts you to where you want to put the file and what you want to call it, as well as the type of document you want to save it as. On the left side, this little section here helps you navigate quickly to certain areas on your computer: desktop, your documents folder, computer. For me, I'm just going to select desktop here. And I'm going to click where it says file name and call it Level 1 Excel. And then I'm going to hit the Save button. And once I do that, it's saved for the very first time. And at the very top, at the title bar, it now has my file name, Level 1 Excel. That's what I call that file. And if you open documents that are already created, it's going to have that file name at the top for you too. So now it's saved, and so if Outlook or Excel crashed or something, it should be able to help me recover part of the file, if not all of it. Now the next thing is a basic formula. Now most people use Excel to help you calculate something, you know, keep a list. Maybe it's an inventory, or how many hours people worked, how many DVDs you have, how many CDs you have. It could be used for a lot of different things. And you can use formulas to help you automatically calculate those totals for you, or how much someone's going to get paid, or how many hours they worked through the entire week if you document it in Excel, or to help you add and subtract, multiply, divide, or even some really, really complicated formulas. I've had to work with some that have been like 3 sentences long. It's basically kind of like formulas within formulas within formulas to come up with a complex calculation. But we're just going to stick with the basics, the ones, and there's also built-in features that help you calculate automatically for you, and some more complex ones as well. I'm going to go to sheet 2. You could stay on the same one. I'm just going to go to an empty sheet, and I'm just going to do, like I mentioned, I have DVDs, maybe collect CDs, and you want to keep track of that. So maybe I have 7 DVDs, and I have 14 CDs. Maybe you have some Blu-ray, so I call it B-Ray, and I have 3 of those. Now, I can calculate the total of all these combined in this example. So here I have total discs, because they are type of discs, and I just want to see how many discs I got. And this could be computer disc, music disc, it doesn't really matter. I just want the total of how many of these discs I have. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. One will be the manual way. So when you create your own formulas, you know how to start a formula. And then create the basic one manually. Because once you get the foundation down, you can then go on and move to the built-in functions and formulas that have in Excel to help you build more complex ones. Now, in Excel, when you build formulas, you have to tell Excel that you're going to do that. And you do that by using the equal sign on your keyboard. Say, hey, Excel, I'm going to do a formula now, so I need to press equal. Now, there's several ways I can create this to add those 3 things together. I can do this. So I need my column information and the row information for the data I want to pull. So I need to do A2. So that's column A, row 2. And you notice it highlights that section with a color, and it color-coded the A2 in my formula. So it kind of points it out for you. Yep, that's the correct one. What if I was wrong? Maybe I go A3. So it moves the box to A3. So it kind of highlights it of what you're working with. So next, I just kind of want to add these together, right? So I'm just going to do plus B2, and once again, change. It made another color and highlighted the B2 and then C2. Is that going to work? You may know. Give it a shot. Press enter on the keyboard, and it says when you hit enter, it's kind of like you're typing data. I'm done with the formula. It goes down, and it calculated, it added those 3 together for me. Now I click back on the number 24 where my answer is, where my formula is, and if you look up in that formula bar now, you don't see the numbers, you actually see the formula. I mentioned that earlier. So if I click on the 3, there's no formula, so it just shows me the values of number 3. Same with 14 and same with 7. There's no formulas, so it just shows the information. But this one does have the formula, so it does show me how I got that answer. Now, so that's how you do it from scratch. A basic, addition. You could use subtraction, multiplication, however you want to do it. Those are some of the basic ones. Now I'm going to delete that because in Excel it has a little tool for the most common features, such as, you know, summing things, adding things together. It's called AutoSum. Kind of on my screen, way over here on the far right, I have my mouse on top of it right now. It's kind of a weird looking symbol, kind of looks like an E or an M sideways or a W. It says display the sum of the selected cells directly after. So basically it's going to try to auto sum things for you, grab data for you, and auto create the formula for you. And it's going to show you a different way how to do it too, instead of the way I showed you earlier. So I'm going to click that, and it highlights what it thinks I want to use. Basically, whatever data is closest to where I clicked the AutoSum, it's going to grab that. So in this case, it's correct. But if you have data going vertical instead of horizontal, it might grab the wrong data. So if it did, you can use your mouse and click and hold and drag to select the correct data. Maybe I only wanted A and B, so I'm only going to highlight A and B. But I'm going to drag them all. Now, instead of doing it the long way like I did, you see the formula is totally different. Are you confused? I was a long, long time ago. What is this for? What is the sum? That word there is what they call a function in Excel. It's used inside formulas. And you could type them manually or with a button. That's one way to do it with AutoSum. It's basically the same thing. It's going to sum up everything. It's going to add everything together, but with using that word of function, so I don't have to do this plus this plus this plus this to do the same thing. This shortens up the work of what you have to type. Makes it a lot quicker. Now, I still have it highlighted. It shows you the function name and then how you kind of do it, number one, number two, or the semicolon in between. That means everything in between that section, everything, A2 all the way through C2, that's what I want it to sum. If I press enter, it got the same answer as I did earlier, but a much quicker way to do it by using that built-in function of sum. That's a basic formula. Now your formulas can go either way. It can be like this. And you want your totals this way, I can still do AutoSum. And it'll grab, like I said, whatever data is closest to it, and I got my answer there quickly as well. If I have data here as well, and I do AutoSum here, it grabbed that one for me too. Sometimes it grabs the wrong data, and if it does, you just highlight what you want to use or type it in there. So in there, just remember, if it's like this, it's anything between with that colon, so F7 all the way through H7. If you had to split it up, which you can, I'm going to click over here. I'm going to do AutoSum. It grabs the closest data next to that, but maybe I want to add my total disk over here with the total, all these numbers over here. So here, I summed up, but it's slightly different. It's not in a direct row or all together. it's D7 plus I7. So I grabbed it from here and I grabbed it from here. They don't have to be together. You can have totals for different things or numbers in different places. You just have to tell it where to grab it from. So the colon represents like the word through, or you just use plus and plus plus plus, kind of like I did the first one there. I'm just going to delete all. Question, is sum the only function? No. There are quite a few functions in the system, some simple like that, some much more complicated. If I go up to AutoSum here, it has, these are some of the common ones. Average, count your numbers for you. So if you had a list of things, it can count for you. Your highest number, max, or your lowest number out of that section. If you go to more functions, there's a big old list in here for different things, depending on what you're looking for. This is just most recently used, but if I click the down arrow, I can go to all, and it lists every function that's available to me in this version of Excel. There's quite a few, or you can go to different categories. It has financial, date and time functions, math functions, statistical, reference, database, text. So there's quite a few functions. Yes, joy of mathematics. So there's tons of those in there to help you make formulas a lot easier than doing them, manually, A1 plus B1 and so forth. A lot of these I've never used, but some of them I have. Some that I used to use are like count. So it counts how many, like if I have a list of employees, just like the names, it can count the cells that have data in them. And then I can, okay, there's 20 employees in this list, or 20 items in this list, if I'm not dealing with actual numbers. But there's a lot built in there. If you select it, if you click on one of them, it explains what they're supposed to do for you and how your data needs to be laid out in that formula when you use that function. Rate, comma, NPR, PV, start, period. Calculates the interest paid between periods. So this can help you with mortgage payments and interest and all that stuff too. There's a bunch in there. So when you have time, once you get more familiar with formulas and stuff and functions, you can look through these and see if something will work for you, depending on what you're trying to do, of course. But yeah, there's a lot more built into there. Formatting in Excel, once you learn it in Word or Excel or PowerPoint, it's pretty much all the same. It's right here. They did make some cool little things in the 2007 of Office and beyond. One thing I really liked, what they added was these buttons here to increase your font size and decrease it quickly without, picking a number. I can just hit the big A to make it go bigger, or the little a here to shrink them down and make them smaller. I really like that when that first came out many, many years ago. So I don't have to try to figure out exactly what size would work for titles and different things like that. Colors, bold, highlight, fill colors. So fill color will fill in the background of a cell. The font color does the letters, the words, the numbers, the actual font. The paint can here, which tipped over, it fills in the background color. And most of these have a little triangle next to them to let you pick a different color. And you notice on the screen as I move my mouse on a different color, it kind of shows me what the color looks like. But for it to work, you need to highlight your rows, your datas first, and then you can see what it might look like. Oh, okay, I'll take this one. And then you click off of it, and it shows you what it's going to be. When you do a fill color, though, you do lose the little lines in between the cells. You notice I don't have those lines anymore? Could have filled it all in here. I don't see those no more. But you can put them back if you really wanted to. But I'm just going to hit undo and go like that. And then undo again. Undo, and took all the colors out, and I got all my little lines back for my grid. Other options right next to the fonts there are like under this section called alignment. So we have clipboard, you have font, alignment, number, and then styles, cells, and editing sections on this home screen. I use these sometimes when I'm dealing with headers and numbers. These will align the text. Align your text to the middle or to the bottom, top, center it up. Just depends on what you're trying to do. So if I click this center, it puts CD right in the center of the cells. Or I can highlight them all, put them back to the default there. This is for your text. Indentations, they have this in Word as well. It indents it, it pushes it over to the left or to the right. I don't use that this much in Excel. Mainly this I use in Word. Increase and decrease your indentation. If you deal with numbers, you want your dollar signs, accounting number format, or you want to turn your percent style on, or comma style. These are all available too, and if you're not sure what they are, just hold your mouse on top of it and it'll give you an explanation of what this will do for you. So if I have some numbers down here, I'm going to highlight that 1,000 and I'm going to pick the dollar sign. So this is the accounting number format. Now, if I wanted to change the way this looks, this one has a triangle, a little drop-down menu next to it. And here's a few options that you can choose. So if I pick Euro, it gives me the Euro symbol. I'm going to put it back to United States. Percent style, and then comma style without, the dollar sign for money. And then if you need to, show more decimal places or show less decimal places. If you're dealing with very exact amounts, you can increase those or decrease them. Under styles, there's some quick options you can use to change the way your information looks in Excel. I'm just moving my mouse on top of these and it quickly changes what I have highlighted. And so if I grab this row here, I can quickly move my mouse and it shows me what it would look like if I actually clicked on it. If I don't click on it, it just stays the way it was. But it kind of gives you a preview of what it would be if you selected it. Then you have cells down here, insert, delete, and format. I don't really use these buttons because I like using the right click instead of coming way over here. If I'm working down over here, then I have to move my mouse way over here for this. They're available if you're not familiar with it, but I typically do a right click. So if I wanted another column in between here, I can right click on the column And it gives you many options of cut, copy, paste. But I want to insert. And now I have a new column right here. For more information. So I have one toy. Same thing with rows. You can do that as well if your data goes the other direction, which I can. If I wanted something in between here, I can right-click and write on the number and say Insert, and it adds a new row for me. So if you want a new column or a new row, just right-click on an actual row or an actual column. Now, if I didn't really need this row 3, I can do the same thing basically, but instead of inserting a row, I can say delete, and it'll take the row away. So just play around with that right click, because it can save you some time from going up to the menu to find what you're trying to do, because it has some of the common things on here. So if I want to cut this, you would just highlight your data, either like this or the whole column. I can cut. I can go over here, I can right-click, and I can paste, and it moves that. Another way in Excel is, you know the box? When I click somewhere, that box, the black box shows up. I can grab this, and if I move my mouse on the edges of that black line, the dark black line, I get 4 arrows. So then I can click and drag and move it as well. It's a little trickier, trying to get right on that spot, so I just use cut and paste, but that is an option as well. Now, just like Microsoft Word, Excel does have spell check and find. It has replace. So if I misspelled something in here multiple times, or I needed to rename something multiple times, if I misspelled DVDs over and over again or something, I can do find and replace. And that keyboard shortcut is Control F to bring up that menu, Control F. And this works with 2007, 2013. It's the same in Word and in PowerPoint. So I'm going to find something. You can then search what for the word. If I say CD, find all, and I had something selected. Time. So if you have a section highlighted, it won't work, but if you just have one cell selected, it will. So I said find all, and in this list here, it showed me everywhere the word CD is at. Now, if I want to replace it, I could go to this tab, but I'm going to find the other one, DVS, because I typed that 4 times. And now I want to place DVS with DVD. Now I can say replace, one at a time, or to make sure I do it correctly, or I can say replace all, and it tells me it's completed its search and made 4 replacements. So all 4 of those now are DVD instead of a DVS. Save me some time. Find and replace. If you want to get fancy and add colors and borders, those are available too. This button here, by default, it adds a bottom border, but if you hit the little arrow next to it, you can pick different styles of border, like say a thick box border. So now I have that dark colored box there, very similar to when I have something selected around that area, or I can highlight the full area and use the same option, thick thick box, and then I have a thick box down there, but you can't really see the top part because of the column. But those are some options for borders, shadings, or if you just want a bottom border or top border, you can take various choices here. Depends on what you want to try to do. Just take some time, or you can just pick a style if you want, and select the area, and pick a style, and then you're done. Oh, that looks good. Depends on what you're trying to do. If you don't have to put colors in it. You don't have to put background colors or font colors. A lot of times it's not even used. But if you have a very large list of data that scrolls on, but has different sections, you may want to split each section with a different row color. So maybe I'm doing cities, locations. Okay, this section is for Anchorage. So maybe I want different color. This could be for Bethel. And then your information is in here. Just so it breaks it up and there's like, different area, different section. So that's one way some people use, colors in Excel. Have any questions so far? Okay, no questions. And you can type them too if you're on the screen. Does it come with styles too? Yeah, the styles has different fonts and font sizes, so things may get a little bigger or a little smaller depending on the styles that are available. And there's more here. If I click the little down arrow, see, it will increase my fonts depending on what you select. And it auto does the rows and columns for you depending on exactly what you have highlighted. So if I only highlight this and then I go to this little more section here, I want to make this a heading, so it has some styles already built in for different styles of headings. And so I can pick that, and maybe this I want to highlight. And you can pick multiple styles and use them to intermix to save you trying to figure out, you can do it manually. Styles make it quick and easy. If you're not good at picking out what colors, if your boss or something, you want color in it, grab a style to save you time. And hey, okay, there's some colors, done. Just highlight what you want first and then select the title or the style. And it quickly applies that style. How do I go about auto-fitting? In between the column by double-clicking or by clicking and dragging. Same with your rows. Double-click or click and drag. Now, in each of these sections on this home page, if you notice where it says the word like font and alignment, there's this little box to the right of the words. These will bring up like the whole menu for fonts when I click that. It gives you every option available. Or if I go to the alignment and click that little button here in the corner, it brings up everything about cell alignment that's available and number as well. Styles doesn't have one, but if it has that little one, it's going to give you the whole menu. If I go to page layout, here's earlier someone else to only print a certain area. This is this right here, print area, under print setup. So if this big messy spreadsheet, all I want to print is, say, this $1,000 over here, or just this header, select it, and then if you go to print area, you can say set print area. And then every time you hit print, it's just going to print that one section only. If you mess up on it, you go back to the same spot and say clear the print area. So if I set it, and if I do, let's see, print preview, that's all it's going to print because I said that's my print area. So if you just want to print your totals in certain areas, you can do that. But to clear it out, you say clear the print area, and if I go back to print preview, it's going to print the whole thing again. Now also in here you have your margins, your page orientation, and these are just the defaults, your paper size. If you add page breaks, that'll show up there. You can put something in the background. You want to add a picture in the background. We usually don't use that. Those are a few other things that are available in there. And it has the thing too where you can get to the whole menu by clicking that little bitty button at the corner to bring up your whole page setup, paper size, how do you scale it. So if you have more data that fits in one page, maybe it prints 1 or 2 lines on page 2, what you can do is tell it to fit to 1 by 1. So that if it's too big and it fits on 2 pages, it'll shrink it to 1. So right now, mine has 2 pages. If you look at the bottom left, it says print a preview, page 1 of 2. So if I go to next page up here, it has the colors and it's $1,000 here. So if I go back to the page setup, I can tell it to fit to 1 by 1 and then take a look at it. So it's going to shrink your information, but then it fits on 1 page. Now for this, the best thing I would do is I would get rid of those colors. Then I wouldn't have to deal with part of the problem. The other problem, I can just move this over and fit it so it fits into 1 page. Now, and so we have 1 page now. Here, there's a few options when you're looking at print preview. You can get back to page setup or actually print it, or I can say show the margins, and this is the header, footer, the page margins, where you can change those under page setup. I don't really mess with page setup or margins very much in Excel when I do mine, but that is available. And I added print preview up here, and that's also available on the drop down here. So you can take a look at it before you print, because if I have data way down here, or way over here, or way up the side, maybe I accidentally hit the keyboard or something and put even 1 little letter, I can't read this now, because I still have fit 1 by 1. If I turn that back off, make sure it says 100 again, I have 30 pages now it's going to print. 90% of them are going to be blank, but because there's data way, it's going to keep going until it prints all the data, including the colors, until there's no more text numbers or whatever. So it's going to have 30 pages of wasted paper. So try to do print preview first, and oops, I can find that. You know, you can use the find or just look through your sheet to find those gibberish I threw in there to get rid of it. Now, I'm way far away. A quick way to get back to the beginning of your spreadsheet is Control Home. Control and the Home key. That'll take you all the way back to A1. Get back to your beginning of your spreadsheet again. Quick way to navigate. Control End will take you to the end of where it thinks there's data at. Because I have data way out here, it still goes way far away. If I delete it all, eventually, if I do Control End, it only goes to the end of like page 2 or page 1, depending on how much information you have. But Control Home and Control End can help you jump around in your sheets rather quickly. Now, if you do have multiple sheets, you just go to the next one by clicking on them down at the bottom left area. You can rename them. You could delete them. Just try the right click right on top of it, and it gives you options to insert more sheets, delete it, rename it, move it, copy it. You can actually change the tab colors if you wanted to as well. Depends on if you have a lot of sheets or not. So you can change the colors and other things just by try that right click out. Okay. Any more questions? I think that's it for the Excel Level 1 class.